David Torn here today, composer, producer extraordinaire, musician, so many records out with so many people. And I want to thank you for doing this. An honor to have you on.
Thanks for asking me
Uh,
on.
uh, maybe we could start off a little bit how you got into guitar and all this exploring music back up in upstate New York when you were younger.
When I was younger, we grew up in New York and suburban New York, and my mom was a pretty fine uh, pianist
Mm,
who um, who who lost her ability to play because of a very extreme arthritis at a very young age.
oh, it's a
There was
shame.
always music in the house. There was a period of time when I was reaching into the teens where was my dad was working at Harman Kardon Electronics.
Okay.
It's a was a very popular high-end hi-fi systems, and he was designing uh,
Oh boy.
hi-fi systems for it was a period of like 5 or 6 years, I think. Um, Very interested in it. So we
Mm.
had an amazing stereo system, and he had all kinds of records. And my mom listened to music all day long. So as a
Oh,
kid, yeah, all day long. I mean, Motown. She listened mostly to Motown,
okay.
some of what was current in rock, um, lots of Broadway stuff,
Mm,
and uh, and my dad was working on these stereo systems and bringing home all kinds of jazz
mm.
and just it was just kind of a natural thing to occur. They had me taking piano lessons when I was like 7 or so. I think I started taking piano. And at around 11 or so, my mom realized that the guitar was really popular. So while they weren't crazy wealthy, she collected S&H green stamps from
No, I remember those.
and
Oh yeah.
and she got me a K nylon string guitar, and I went nuts on it. And and then and so she took I had flamenco lessons,
Oh, okay. I
and
was going to ask you if you had lessons.
that was very, very intense, and I was a little too young to be able to deal, and I didn't speak any Spanish at all. And and uh and then she moved me over to a really great jazz guitar player, friend of hers, and really great teacher. And I went through the Mel Bay books, and he would do arrangements. He'd
No.
write out an arrangement of a Beatles song.
Oh,
He
wow. Huh.
he'd do a jazz arrangement. Really, it's incredible, incredible teacher, and it just kept things just kept blossoming. They sent me to the Bernstein concerts
Oh, okay.
for children, for kids,
Hmm.
with my sister who never attended. She actually would just like leave and say, "Don't tell Dad I wasn't with you."
Oh man. Oh,
The-
that's funny.
at Lincoln Center, those music for young people, or music for young composers, or music for frightened squirrels, or
That's funny. Friend squirrels.
I went to those for a period of time, and yeah, just everything it just came, and I decided that I would work really hard on it, and it turned out that I was audience very shy
Hmm.
and didn't really do well with an audience. So I was in all these bands, and everybody
Oh,
was older than me, and and I kind of really didn't enjoy it.
hmm.
Playing really loud rock music and with crazy people who were, 5,
Yeah.
8 older than me, 9 years older than me. One of the guys in the band that I was in that really freaked me out was a Vietnam vet, and he had just come back, and he had
Oh boy.
PTSD, which we didn't know. And it was really a scene. And again, I was like a kid playing in bars illegally. And
Hmm.
so I bailed out for a little bit of a while. And then my friend Robbie Kaplan drew me into some kind of band thing. And I decided to take a different
Mm.
pathway, studying philosophy, philosophy of religion, religious studies in a million ways. I went to India for
Oh, really?
about a
Huh.
year and really wasn't performing. Brought a guitar
Mm.
with me, took a I was with some really amazing singers, incredible
Mm.
singers, and a violinist in Kathmandu in Nepal. And I spent almost a year there, and came back and decided to. I had an inheritance from my grandmother that allowed me to. I wasn't a high school graduate. I had
Okay.
I did. No, it's not true. I had
Yeah.
a degree, but I had a degree that I forget what you call it. I went to night school, and I took a degree because I wasn't going to schools. So I had that degree, and when I came back from India, I I had this little inheritance from my grandmother, and it covered a year, 2 semesters. It covered a year at Berkeley.
Oh,
But I
okay.
didn't get back from India
Mm.
until I was well into the fall semester. So I started there in January and I took 2 semesters work in one semester. And I really wasn't organized. I was not adult in any way. I was really pretty, I wouldn't say antisocial,
Right.
but people scared me. And
Mm.
had a great composition teacher there who really taught me a lot. And my friend Robbie called me from New York and said, "Hey, we're starting a new version of that band, and we
Mm.
want to do it for real. Do you want to join?" And
Mm.
me and my girlfriend went from Boston directly back to New York, joined this band,
Mm.
rehearsed for a while, played a few gigs around suburban New York, in New York,
Mm.
and then we decided to move upstate, up to Ithaca, and I just never stopped from that point.
Mm.
And
Now,
I increased my studying as well. So
how did you get in the Everyman band? I mean, with EMC, that's a pretty major label there in
ECM,
jazz.
yeah,
ECM,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a
Well, I don't know that there would have been an ECM
mm.
record
Mm.
if I hadn't been there. They weren't on ECM at the time. So the Everyman Band was not in Ithaca, but very nearby, like 35-minute drive northeast of Ithaca at the
Okay.
on the east side of Lake Cayuga. And they just heard about me because I was in this band that was pretty popular. We had a lot of record companies like, you know,
Oh, okay.
offering money for demos, and it looked like we were too weird to really be a
Mm.
big rock band. We were a little too broad.
Okay.
I think I would be the one who would have to take the really weird cake in that.
Okay.
But I was getting my chops together and learning about music and what I liked, and I studied with Pat Martino for a minute. I studied with John Abercrombie
Oh,
for
that's a great.
almost a year, which was amazing. And
I could imagine.
driving into New York, 5 hour and a half hours into New York to take lessons, broke,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
You know,
Man, that's
hanging
something.
around with John, who
Oh,
really like the just an incredible teacher, and really like very inspiring to me as a human being, because we weren't that different, except
mm,
he was years on from me.
got
And
it.
and he really supported me. He introduced me to all to Liebman and Dave Liebman and Richie Byrack
All these
and
great
Al
players.
Foster and
Oh,
all these people who would just come over while I was having a lesson with him.
oh my. Yeah, that's
It's kind
amazing.
of mind blowing. And
It is.
so these guys, the Everyman Band, I get a call from them, and this guy Bruce, and he says, you know. I'm in this band. We're calling it Everyman Band, and what we are is we are Lou Reed's band up until this record,
Oh,
and then on that record, only the drummer played with, but all these other records and the live gigs were all these one, two, three guys, and
okay.
they lost a keyboard player or something,
Mm,
and this one guy really loved my playing and said, "You want to play?" And I was like, "Yeah." And
okay.
and it was real like, oh, they're like Lou Reed, these guys,
Yeah.
and they acted like, they were rock stars
Right,
basically.
right.
And and the music was odd because we were playing like Ornette Coleman and some of their original stuff,
Mm,
and it was fun, and I was doubtful about all of it. And
mm.
meanwhile, playing in my own band, I had a free improv trio that
Oh,
started
okay.
in 72 or
Mm,
73 with upright bass and a tabla player who also played drums, Jeff Gordon, who's on my
okay.
who's the drummer on my own first record for East.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Wow.
and yeah,
That's something.
it's some shit happened, and then and the Everyman Band thing was it was okay, and they'd have somebody sit in and doing some songs that I didn't really relate to very well, and I didn't know what was happening. I didn't hear from them for a while, and then one day I got a call from Bruce again, and Bruce says, "Hey, um, we're playing with Don Cherry in
Mm.
England, and he lost his keyboard player, and I told him about you, so he asked me to ask you to come on the tour." And
Oh,
I
that's
said, "Are we
something.
talking about Don Cherry?" And he goes, "Yeah. Well, I mean, we've known him for years.
There you go.
And it's all this like, you
I
know,
love I love these celebrities, rock stars. I know all these people like
oh,
so
it
like
was no joke." But I thought like, oh, come on, this is corny.
yeah,
But but
that is something.
but I was enjoying the idea of it. And when they said Don Cherry and said, "Well, why don't you play? Say yes, but you got to be ready to go. You have a passport. Yeah, I still have a passport. We're gonna have to leave in 4 weeks, so let's play a couple of gigs and do a couple of
Mm.
rehearsals. Our material and some Don Cherry and some Ornette Coleman's music. And
Oh, boy.
great, awesome,
Yeah.
fun.
Uh,
So I dove in and uh and I couldn't believe it was happening. I just had a baby
mm.
born like in like 6 months
Oh
pre
my gosh.
our first son. So my wife's freaking out because she's a chef at this restaurant that she co-started with a group of
Yeah,
people,
boy.
and like everything's freaky,
Uh,
and suddenly I'm actually really going, and no one gave me any instructions. I had the phone number of a French promoter who was supposedly waiting for me at the airport
oh, you gotta love
in
it.
London, and I arrived, and I had brought like little charts of the Ornette tune
Yeah,
and some of Don's stuff, so I would remember things
right.
because I hadn't really played it that much, and I was doubtful. First gig is at the Rainbow Theater in fucking London.
Get out of
Rainbow
here.
Theater
Wow.
opening. We were the closing band.
Uh,
Prince Hammer and Creation Rebel played first. The Slits played second,
oh my gosh.
and then the Don Cherry Band was
Oh, that is
the
amazing.
headliner. So I get to London, dude. I love this. I love thinking about the reality of
That is
this.
something.
I'm sorry because it goes sideways so
That
deep.
is amazing. That's okay.
But I get there,
Great.
and I'd been in London once before, but only at the airport, and I know nothing. Couldn't find the hotel. The hotel turned out to be like a not a dump, but a bathroom in the hallway,
Oh my gosh.
as small as a room about the size of my suitcase, right? Or my guitar case.
Oh my
That's it,
gosh.
right? It was and whatever, and I had and I get a note from Don saying, "Why don't you come up to my room and let's hang out before the
Right.
And I said, nobody told me when the gig is. And he says, oh, it's tomorrow. So,
Oh my gosh. Talk
so
about pressure.
I go to
Wow.
the room with all these little charts that are like
Oh man.
my micro terrible handwriting, micro
Oh,
writing. I do micro writing,
eh,
and I did at that time. And I walk in with all this stuff, and I've got an electric guitar. There's no amp. He's got his little pocket trumpet, and I take out the charts, and he goes, "No, no, no, forget that shit. Just
really?
put it over there. Put it over there. We don't, you won't need that. Just play the tunes with me." And so he'd play a phrase and I'd repeat it and learn it. And he'd play the next phrase. And we did this thing where I learned like, I don't know, at like 1 o'clock in the morning, I
Oh
learned
my.
with jet lag, I learned
Oh,
like 7 or 8 new tunes that were definitely enough to do an entire concert with, including the what I presume was going to be improv,
right.
which did happen because it's Don
Yeah.
Cherry, you know?
Yeah, of course.
And we played one gig at the Rainbow Theater, and Don said, you know, the keyboard player can make the gig, but could you stay instead? And
Uh,
I said, how long are we here? And he goes, well, we're here in England, Scotland for a couple of weeks, and then we go
mm.
to France and other countries for like another 2 months. And
Oh my gosh.
I called my wife and I think I should do this. And Don said to me, you know, your wife could come,
Mm.
and don't you have a son? And I said, yeah. And he goes, you could bring your wife and your son. We have a big bus.
Oh, that's something.
So they showed up in France when we left
Ah.
England, and Nena was on the bus with us, Don's daughter, Nena Cherry, and
Oh yeah, she's
yeah,
fantastic. Wow.
she was like
Mm.
11 or something. And we basically we played everywhere in France,
That
everywhere.
must have been amazing.
Some Switzerland. I think there was like a Luxembourg. It was mostly we might have gone into Spain for a minute. I can't remember. Definitely Switzerland, France.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, so
That's
that
a
was that, and we
what
made
memories.
we made a record in Paris, and Don came and played on some of it, and it got sent to ECM, but for some reason, not really sure what happened, but for some reason Don didn't join us. It was just us,
Mm.
and that's how ECM accepted us, and that was really that was the start of the career that was broader than upstate New York.
I imagine. I mean, you did two records, right? You did
We
two
did two
records.
Everyman Band records, and
Mm.
I did a solo record right after the second Everyman Band record,
Mm.
and then the next record was Cloud About Mercury after
Oh,
that.
I got to hear about that. How was it working with Tony Levin, Bill Bruford? I mean, you're with the A group of players. I mean, these are the echelon, right? Of
I think what was happening was that I had spent Bill Frisell left Jan Garbarik's band
okay.
in order to join Paul Motion's band. And my wife and I were at that point back upstate, up where we are now, basically a couple of miles from where we are now. I am right now, and I think when Bill left, I was the recommended guitar player, and
Oh, okay.
Manfred Eicher recommended me. I think maybe Bill had said something because he he was a little. The first time I met him was at a Jan Garbarek gig that he attended with my friend Tim Berne, who became one of my best
Mm.
friends in life. Bill was there, and he was very shy, but he was a little, I think, knocked out by like my approach, what I was doing, the way I was using sound,
I
I think.
remember that. I saw some YouTube videos. Yeah, it's
Uh,
really good.
this is some other stuff because I had really dialed in the begun really dialing in the looping and effects thing
Mm,
as a as an integrated part of my guitar sound, not as a oh I do this too. It's
right, right.
this is one thing, you know. And I don't know. So Manfred called and said, "Do you want to go on the road with Jan Garbarek?" And I said, "Who else is in the band?" And he said, "Eberhard Weber." And I went,
There you go.
"I
Yeah.
said, wasn't this the band Bill was in?" He goes, "Says yeah, but Bill's not there anymore." And he didn't tell me the story, but I got it later. So I said yes, and I think that those bunch of years really affected a lot of people in musicians in England and
Mm,
Germany and some in France, definitely Italy, Scandinavia. I would say we did 2 winters and 1 summer in Norway
mm.
alone.
Whoa, wow.
So so I think it affected a bunch of people, a lot of British musicians, and you know, weirdly, Manfred wanted me to do another record as that band was beginning to. I don't think anybody really knew it except Manfred, but that Jan's band started to kind of like shatter a little bit because we kept going through drummers, and
Mm,
Manfred was kind of unhappy with the direction, not because of me, or at least not verbally because of me, but for certain musical feelings he had about it for Jan.
mm,
And and I don't know. I was fishing around for something to do, and I had spoken with Tony and Levin about a friend of my a boyfriend of my sister's introduced me to Tony.
mm.
Had a great time with him the first time we met. Um, I invited him to do a record with me on ECM, and uh, and I was trying to get Jack DeJohnette to play drums.
Oh, there you go.
That drifted for almost 2 years, and then
Mm,
I finally gave up because I couldn't get Jack, and I in the middle of it falling apart, I kept thinking about like electronic drums, and I would really like to do something with electronic drums because I'd like to base the music
mm.
around loops and things that are kind of like loops, but needed to be more clearly tonal sounds.
Got it.
I started writing this music with my PCM 42
Mm,
in this very room that I'm sitting in, and
mm.
and I started doing all the stuff, and I kind of went, God, I need somebody who plays drums, but they have to be really great at electronic drums. I talked to everybody
Mm.
after Jack disappeared from my life. I talked to so many drummers, and I couldn't find somebody that I thought was like really grounded in the stuff. And I went to visit my mom, and she said to me, "Did you ever find the drummer that you're looking for?" And I said, "I haven't really." And she said, "Great, because I think
Mm.
I found exactly what you're talking about. A really good drummer, really interesting, good performer, really interesting sounds, and he does both drumming and electronic instruments." And I said, "Who's that?" And she said Bill Bruford. And I said, "What?" She goes, "Here, just come over here." And she pops a video
Mm.
into her video VHS player.
Oh, that's great.
"I recorded this for you." She said, "Wait till you
Ah,
get to the drum solo." And then there's Bill playing his Simmons drums. I know Tony,
right, right. Oh, that's
right?
right.
And it's King Crimson. And I'm
That's
like,
right.
Bill
Ah,
Bruford, I wonder,
I
right? So I picked up the phone. I somehow arranged to find Bill's number somehow through his management, I think. I called Bill, I invited him, I wrote him a letter
mm.
in advance of the telephone call. He was tickled. He knew who I was.
Oh, okay.
Um, he knew that I had already been on 3 or 4 ECM records. Uh,
Oh, that's even better yet.
and he started to agree to it. And I said, "It's going to be strange because I'm
Mm.
going to give you tunings to play, and those are going to be the tunings, a different tuning for each tune. So do you have enough MIDI skills to be able to
Mm,
program a set of different,
that's interesting.
and we'll do the sounds together? And he said, yeah, but who else is in the band? And I said, well, I'm trying to get this guy, Mark Isham, and I think
All
he's in.
right.
And he's a trumpet player. You might know
Yeah.
what he had
Oh
a
yeah, it's
two film
fantastic.
scores out at that point. He had been in Group 87. And I said, I'm trying to get him, and it looks like he's going to be in, but let's just worry about the basic band from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I said, the bass player is going to be Mick Karn. He said, Mick. And I was like, you know who he is? And he said, strange guy from the band Japan. Very,
That's
whatever
funny.
the word for that kind of like fashion rock was. And then I said,
I
no, he's
just
an incredible musician. So we planned rehearsals, and we went to do rehearsals, and I had a lot of chats with Mick and his girlfriend, who was posing as his manager at that point in time. And Mick was way into it. He said, I'm really
yeah,
scared, but
right.
I really want to do this. And he didn't show up. I flew into London,
He didn't
my
show
own,
up. Oh,
my dime. I flew to
wow.
London. I rented a really nice rehearsal
Oh,
studio for us. Bill's there, the big pro, the famous
oh
guy.
yeah, that's the Bill
And he's like,
Bruford, right?
so
Oh,
where's this bass player? Well,
oh,
and I kept we'd work really hard on a tune
yeah.
and tunings and sounds, and then I'd go, okay, I got to make a phone call. I got to find him. Never found him.
He never showed up.
His
Nothing.
girlfriend called me and apologized days after we were done,
Oh,
and said he was too frightened, and at the same time she said he had to go to Pakistan. And
okay.
I was like, I
That is
mean, okay,
strange.
but he could have called me.
Yeah, right. You
So,
got Bill Bruford there, you know? We got
and Bill's like, and I said, don't worry about it, Bill. And Bill's like, well, maybe, when's the recording again? I said, well, it's like in 2 months.
right.
So he goes, how about Tony? And I said, yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
Originally, he was going to be the bass player on the first record that I didn't get to do, which was
Oh my
one with
gosh.
that. So I called Tony, and he said, how much does it pay or something? And I went, and Bill said, and stuck in and went, it really doesn't pay much at all.
Oh boy. I could just imagine him saying that. The ultimate pro, right?
It
Oh,
was super fun. And
imagine.
so we did the record without
Mm,
Manfred. Manfred was there for in the studio with us for maybe 20 minutes, and then he disappeared, and I was there and and because I had friends at the Bearsville studios here,
mm,
my friend Mark McKenna, who designed those studios and also A&M in Los Angeles, basically
wow.
said to me, "You're in good hands." And I said, "You know he said, "You're going to love the sound of the console at that room, and you have Andy Jackson engineering. Andy Jackson
Mm.
did all those Pink Floyd records."
Oh yeah, that's right.
I didn't suss that it was Andy was the Pink Floyd guy until like years later.
How did he end up there? I mean, how did I mean, he was doing Pink Floyd. What, was he just working there now, or is that just happened to
He,
happen?
Andy, I
Yeah,
I don't really know. I
that's
don't know.
something.
What a great engineer
I
producer.
imagine.
Yeah, just great sounds. He went with all my fucked up ideas about how to
Mm.
put microphones on electric guitar. I was doing something really new at the time that I had been doing for a while, but didn't become popular until maybe 10 years ago, which is I had a 3-point stereo setup. What
Oh,
they call it wet, dry, wet now because
mm.
a lot of people do it, but there would be a center guitar amp that was the guitar sound. And
Okay.
then loops and reverbs and delays go only to two outside amplifiers so that
Oh, it's neat.
there's a wider stereo picture.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you can clearly hear the guitar. You're not struggling with the guitar through all the reverb.
Right, right.
very,
That's
very distinct, you know.
that. Now you did another record with Bill and Tony, Upper Extremities, right? With Chris Bodie.
We did two
Two
records together.
records, right?
The live record and the studio record. I think that I like the live record a
It
lot.
is. It's good. Upper Extremities, I like too. I mean, that grows on you. It's
I
really
yeah, I do like it. It's I think it's more charming than
that's
the live record is, but
right.
I really like the teeth of the live stuff. I like the edge that's on the musicians in a live context,
Yeah,
you know.
well, I saw Chris Bodie like in a different context, and it was really great, but it was more traditional. I never saw him in this.
This
This
was
was
when the band broke up, which was a sad thing for me and for
right.
Chris and for Tony. Um,
Really?
and when the band broke up, the one who was the most vocal about trying to stay together was Chris,
Hmm.
because he loved the improvisational things that we were doing, because they were improvisational at the same time trying to bring a compositional head to improv without really trying, just the
Hmm.
idea of being able to set up new forms that
Oh, he was really terrific.
necessarily need to be repeated. I think he really loved it, and so that was that band, and that was really a lot of fun. It was a sad day
I can
when
imagine.
yeah we were.
Was Tony playing the Chapman stick at that time too?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
He's a
yeah.
beast. Oh
He's
man.
he's beyond. Tony's beyond.
Ah.
He's really like he's he's really a there's there are two words for musician in
Hmm.
German. There's somebody who plays music, a musiker, right? Musiker.
Right.
And, and then there's somebody who lives music, and that's a musicant. And
Hmm.
Tony is that.
Oh,
Tony
I'm
is he just is a musician,
yes, it's true.
and he is constantly improving himself, and incredible musician. Just
I saw some clips of the Beat Tour, and I mean, he has not lost a bit of anything on that stick, and oh, it's incredible.
we played a silly gig, silly. It was fun. I don't think I was loud enough. We played a gig in New York with JT Bates playing drums,
Okay.
Tony playing upright electric, a little bit of stick, and me and Osnoy playing guitar
Oh,
at the bitter end, I think it was. It was the first time I got COVID, was that very night.
oh,
Dude,
oh boy. That must have been a great gig. Oh man.
it was a little weird, but
A
fun.
bit I mean
But
that
fun.
place is still open, isn't it? The bitter end? I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's
definitely. They definitely have a crowd that goes there.
now you played with Terry Bozzio too, right?
Yeah, quite a lot in in two different bands.
I
Well,
like that. I really love that Polytown record.
yeah, that was really good.
I
Uh,
mean, very energetic. And Terry is just another amazing musician.
yeah,
I mean, what a
he is.
drummer.
I still think that I had to take the record to a really great mastering engineer, because
Mm.
somehow the thing that was, and I still like the sound of it, but I was buried in the mixes.
Oh,
I
okay.
was a producer, and I was buried, and I couldn't win a, a conversation about it.
Oh,
So we ended up with drums really, really up front. I
they
love that.
were.
I love it. But I felt
Mm.
strongly. And so I went to the record company and said, we have to try to do something to bring the guitar forward,
It,
because
yeah.
there are only a couple of people that can do that, and it's going to be expensive. And if you don't want to do it, I can't afford to do it. If you don't want to do it, don't worry about it. And the record company press said, you know what, do it. How many days?
Oh,
You're going to take two
right.
days, 3 days. How expensive it's going to be? And I called Bob Ludwig. told him what was happening, and he gave me a price. I called the record company owner, and he said, "Go ahead, just do it. You
Good. Oh,
you do need to do it."
that's
So
great that you
I
got
did it,
that done.
and it worked a little bit. It's still, it was one of those things where I could have used a little more, a little bit more in the teeth department
Hmm.
through the ambient stuff,
Hmm.
a
Now,
little bit.
was he with Mark on those 5 albums you did with Mark? Terry,
What's
was he
that?
on? Mark Isham, was he playing on Terry's? Was he the drummer on those records?
It, Terry played on. We did an Isham band together. Yep, he.
Right.
We did an Isham band together. Did we do two different Isham bands with Terry?
Hmm.
I think it was that, and then I did some stuff with Terry and Pat O'Hearn, and
Oh, okay.
and then there was something else with Terry. There was a lot with Pat. I did a bunch of records with Pat in down in Atlanta.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, yeah, I
I
can't.
think it was some good records. You did like what, 4 or 5 records with Mark there in that period?
Yeah, I did at least four
Hmm.
scores with him. I did a Warren Zevon piece of music for a film that Mark was
Hmm.
supposed to do, but I ended up doing, and I hired Pete Manu to play guitar on it because
Oh man.
I couldn't hack the
Yeah.
rhythm parts.
Oh man, that's
It was
something.
so
Yeah,
much.
Mark. Yeah, Mark did a lot of film scores.
Yeah, he was at that point he was at about at the time that we broke up, as it were, he was probably on his sixth or seventh film,
Hmm.
maybe something like that. And I worked on three, four of them.
Hmm.
Terry might have been also on that a record that Mark produced in Los
Okay.
Angeles
Huh.
of a young
Hmm.
British singer at the time. Uh, oh shit, I can't remember her name.
No, that's all right.
I got it. Tanita Tikaram.
Okay.
And I think Terry was
Ah.
on that. And we did we did at least we did a Cheryl Benteen record that Mark produced after I had played. I think I played on two Manhattan Transfer records around that time.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about them.
I sort of knew about Cheryl. I just did like ambient stuff
But
and
they were great. I loved them. They were a good band.
yeah, that Cheryl was really fun.
Really talented.
Cool person.
Well,
Uh,
now I want to talk to you about what this record right here, David Bowie. So,
so David was a long time coming for me because I had heard from him. Actually, there was a period of time where I heard from Bowie Camp and hey,
hmm,
this is really going to happen, and it didn't never happened, and he never called. This is like in the late 80s,
okay.
early 90s. And then there was what was the other
So,
thing?
did you have to go through like management, the managers, or did he hear? Did he know your mute? He must have known your music from somewhere, right?
Yeah, he Paige Hamilton was in the band for one tour, and
Hmm.
Paige took my Splatter Cell record on the tour bus. David's famous for hanging with everybody
Oh, that's nice.
on the tour, but he was
Ah,
really like family oriented guy, you
that's
know.
great.
Yeah, friends and family are tight. And and I was aware because Paige kept saying he's freaking out about this record, and then
Hmm.
they made Zach Alford and David made I forget the name of that record that was sort of more electronic,
Hmm.
almost like on the border of dance music, a little bit like my Splatter Cell records. Of
Okay.
course, there are two, and and I thought I was going to hear from him because Paige was like, "Man, oh man." Well, when it finally did actually come around, it was what was this? I got a call from, I
Did he
guess,
did he come to see you play at all any place or just
yeah, he had, yeah, but he did that more after we knew each other
okay.
than beforehand. But he was definitely familiar with recorded work. So I was working on a film with Carter Burwell. I did probably maybe like 20, 25 films with Carter, 20,
Wow.
25 films, um, in which I had got to do a lot of creative stuff and also writing, some of his writing, and playing melodies with the orchestra and things like that. Quite a few films. It's got to be 20 to
Mm,
25, maybe more. So we were working on this film, and it was with he was working with a director that was in the studio while Carter and I were working on some of the music. Oh no, I
mm,
didn't actually. No, I got the timeline wrong.
mm.
I got a call from Carter, and Carter said before he said I have Bowie's coming over tonight, and I said why? And he said, well, there's this tune in the middle of the film where even though it's a period piece and
Mm,
you're in like King Arthur times
mm.
in England, there's a piece where it breaks down and all of the knights start and the maidens
Interesting.
start
Huh.
dancing and they're dancing to a Bowie tune. And he said, and I'm having a problem with this, and I want to
Yeah.
know if you can help me with it. And I said, tell me the tune. And he said, so wait, well, what's the problem? The problem is I have to make it work with the score. So I
Okay.
thought that if you could come in, work you into the score up to that point
Mm.
and get you to do things to make the bridge, which is one of the main things that I've done for people who are Hollywood composers who aren't me,
Right, right.
is create bridges
Mm.
from like pop tunes to score or score to pop tunes.
Got
So
it.
he said, I'll definitely do it. And he said, great, because I already set this up. I have some samples from some shit we did already, and I've just set up the idea of it.
Right.
You're not going to do this, but I wanted to show David something, so I'll use your stuff. And he did that, and he threaded it in, and and David said, "Well, this works. What
Yeah.
happened? It's working." And he said, and he goes, "What are those sounds? Is that a synth? What's happening there?"
Mm.
And Carter said, "No, that's my friend David Torn."
Ah.
And Carter called me because he for the punchline was David Bowie says to Carter, I love that guy. He's Picasso. He's the
Oh,
Guillaume of new electric guitar.
wow. Coming from David Bowie, that's quite a
So
compliment there.
so so
Ah.
a year later, I get this call from Bowie's from I get this call from Bowie's management. Well, actually, Bowie's management called my lawyer because I was strongly represented at that point in time.
Okay.
I co-wrote the song with Madonna, and
Mm.
so I had to have people around me who were real business people because I'm
Got
not,
it.
and people that I trust. I mean,
Right.
and so I can't remember his name now. I get this call and he says, "Hey, David's going to call you in the next few days. Is that okay?" And I said, "Sure." And he says, "Is there any specific time of day?" And I said to him, and this
Hmm.
this really struck with David on a personal level.
Yeah.
I said, listen, I'm out in the studio at about like usually about 5:30 in the morning. I start working around 6, and anytime for any, most days for any time between like 6 and 10, and I'll be around. And I said, or after, I'll call right back if
Right.
he calls and leaves a message. I'll call right back. And and so he said, well, that's going to go over well with David.
Oh, imagine
I thought he was being like, sly or whatever, or sarcastic. And it's like 4 days later, I'm in the studio and I'm fucking concentrating. I'm sitting in front of the
that.
computers.
Yeah.
Why isn't this piece working? What is going
Yeah.
on? Oh God. Phone rings. I'm like, fuck you. It's like it's
That's
like
great.
6:40 in the morning. No one calls. It's a European number. No one calls me at
Oh,
this time of day. I put the phone down. I go back to my concentration. Phone rings once, goes off.
oh,
20 minutes later, it rings again, and I went, oh God, I'm picking up the phone and I'm going,
yeah.
what? I said, hello? And he goes, hello, David. It's David. No.
That's usually when you're somebody like that, you think somebody's faking it, Oh, you
Yeah,
can't be
yeah, of
that.
course.
Right.
I was actually at my friend Marilyn's house when we're having breakfast, and 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 it's really relaxed. It's nice. Her phone rings in Copenhagen. Her phone rings, and she picks up the phone, says hello, and her eyes go
Mm.
completely crazy, and puts her hand over the phone. She goes, and I realize she's saying Miles.
Oh my gosh.
Fucking Miles Davis.
Oh man.
And her whole life changed. Yeah,
Oh, I can imagine.
totally. Yeah.
Oh, this is Miles. Is David there?
No, it was for her.
No? Oh, her.
Yeah, it was definitely for Marilyn.
So
Yeah.
how was it like working with Tony Visconti? I mean, did you do the records, those three records with him, with David? Was he
Yeah, I mean he was a heathen. Heathen he wasn't as he wasn't as daily involved as something like the next day.
okay?
On he and So there were two engineers working. Mario McNulty, who was Tony's assistant in New York, was working in New York, but upstate. When David and I finally got together, we got together, the three of us, Tony, David, and me. We went
Okay.
out to dinner, or we met at dinner. Went to a nice dinner, and David basically said, "It's an interesting project.
Hmm.
uh, I'm sure I'll end up writing a couple of extra more poppy songs, but the material itself is going to be it's a new twist for me. I want it to be this way. It's going to be a different thing, and it should be a lot of fun." And and he said, "Where would you like to work?" And I said, "I mean,
Hmm. Like,
like anywhere in the world?" And he goes, "Yeah, like where do you think we should go? What do you think
wow.
we should do?" And I said,
Hmm.
my friend Mark McKenna, they finished the Lair Studios, and this big project was just leaving. And I looked at Tony and I said, "You know about Lair, right?" And he said, "I definitely do. David, we
Hmm.
should we should go look at that."
Oh, okay.
And they did, and that's where we ended up doing all of my bits on Heathen. I think that Tony played on a track or two. He might have played in New York. Tony Levin, I mean.
Right, well, okay.
But Tony Visconti he wasn't daily present in the Alaire sessions. I don't know why.
Hmm.
David was happy. Uh, my job was show up, show up at any time from 7 o'clock on. If the door is closed, David's still writing. If the
Hmm.
door, if and then go get some breakfast at the at the kitchen in the studio. And if the door's open, just come in.
Okay. And then Pete Townsend was part of that, wasn't he? One song?
Yeah, that bummed me out. That was like
I
a
know. I wonder why. What
I
went
was
on with
really bummed
that?
out because there was a really great guitar solo that I have on that track that
They took it off?
no one ever. It's possible that Brandon might have a copy of it, but
Okay.
a record company said, "Well, why don't we get Pete Townsend's going to be in New York, and why don't we?" And he had a couple of things like that David. I understand why. I understand his business sense was, you know, give Sony some of the things that they want. That's
Right.
why he ended up with a couple of like odd little pop tunes in there that he might not have done otherwise, because the shape of Heathen is really centered around those big dark pieces.
It is. It is. The last song is really, really dark. And then
Oh, yeah,
I've
that's one of my favorites.
it is. It's really
I
good.
I had Donald Lewis do did an arrangement very close to that one because it was unbeatable.
It
Uh,
is.
with for the band The Bad Plus with Donald Lewis singing. Uh,
Mm.
it's on Donald Lewis record from like 7 years ago or something like that.
Now, did you get to play live at all with David with these
Oh,
records?
we discussed it, and then at the time I was on the cusp of moving to Los Angeles to be bi-coastal because
Okay.
of the amount of films that I was now being able to compose myself
Mm.
on my own without working for another composer. And that was starting to crack open. And we talked about it a lot. And he said, I don't think you're gonna like the shows
Mm.
because we really do got to play the same show every night. And
Okay.
I know you, and I know that you're going to find something better every time you do something, but it's not going to be pleasing asses in seats or whatever.
Right, right.
So I said, yeah, and my family, and it looks like we might make this move and get this second home,
Mm.
which is really going to be crazy for us because money. And
Yeah.
and he said, "Okay, I have a better idea." And he did. He had a great idea, and he
Mm.
loved playing with Matt Chamberlain, who was on that record.
Oh, he's very great,
Uh,
great drummer.
one of the great drummers of the
Oh
world
yeah,
of all time. Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
unbelievable drummer. I'm blessed by the great drummers that I have played with.
Yeah, you've played with really and bass players. I mean,
I just feel like listen, I kind of go and horn players. It's
that's
like,
true. Everybody, right? You've had
man,
some great people around you, but
incredible.
you're talented too. So you fit in with all these greats.
Yeah, but all you have to remember just uh, there was something that Bill said a whole bunch of years ago about you can't think about making music as as any kind of like a competition or something like that. I'm probably interpreting the quote.
Right.
You can't think about it as being some kind of competition. You're there to prop up your friends, and they're
Mm.
there to prop you up,
Yeah, and think about that way.
your
Yeah.
musical friends. And yeah, I think anyway, so David came up with this idea that he said, if I can pull it off,
Mm.
what we could do is take all the new material, only the new stuff, and have a heathen show that's you, me, Matt,
Mm.
Gail, and I can't remember who we thought of for keys. He said
Mm.
we could do theaters instead of trying to do all the big, which he said I prefer, is if we could
Yeah.
smaller theaters And I said, and so that wouldn't be like a 6 month tour. And he said, no, no, we could do like, 8 weeks or something like
Oh,
that.
that would
Eight
have
or
been
9 weeks.
great.
And I was like, okay, well, if that's the case, I'd do that.
Right, right.
I'd do that in a minute. And that never happened.
I spoke to Martha Mook. Uh,
Oh man.
what a great lady and
She's
such a talent. Oh,
she's
she's amazing.
she's my sister from another blister.
Oh, how about that? I was so surprised.
I haven't really seen her in a bunch of years. I had her on the Son of Goldfinger record with her quartet. Um,
Oh,
for
okay.
actually, I did more than one piece with them, but I could only get that one piece onto that. I think it's the only piece that I got. And I got two pieces. No, I only got that piece onto the Son of Goldfinger record. Yeah.
I didn't know how much material, how much things was on and still is. It's
Oh
just
man,
Barbara Streisand, you name it. I mean,
but she really started cooking a few years ago. I mean, 10 years ago, and her involvement at Tibet House, that's a
right, right, right.
really important thing for her, and also a thing that helped her to be out in that wider world. She's doing stuff with Lori now. And
I
and
know. So she
uh
told me.
I was gonna try to pitch a duet of me and Lori at Big Ears, and I didn't do it.
That would have been a great show. You and Laura, wow, you and
I
Laurie
don't have a
Anderson.
manager or anything anymore. I don't have anybody to mind my business, and because I'm unmanageable.
Yeah,
That
here you go. Hey,
that's
let's talk about your guitar. I mean, it's got a microphone built into it, or what?
well,
Let's see that.
it's a system. It's
Okay,
actually a system that I came up with over the
would
course of
love to see that.
it's it's been in all my guitars since around 2000.
Okay,
And there are probably 200 or 200 or so of these systems out in the world.
okay.
Uh,
Look at that.
this is a microphone.
Right.
So this one is overcooked. It doesn't need all these buttons. It only needs these three.
Okay.
But this was a great idea, but it doesn't work for
Yeah.
me. But this is the original thing. Now, this is on the guitar here
Okay.
so that when you're playing it, these switches each do something. So just
Okay.
thinking about these top three switches.
Okay.
This microphone is fantastic
You want to
feedback.
move it up a little bit so we can see it. Oh, there
It's
we
a
go. Okay, perfect.
you know what? I have more light too.
Oh, good.
This could do something.
Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's pretty neat.
this thing originally I called this system the interruptulator because
Interrupulator. I like that name.
interruptulator because it's intended to interrupt the things I'm playing with
Okay.
switches.
So,
In the end, the one that worked really well for the first time was was I gave it to my friend Saul Cole, who is a guitar maker in Portland, Oregon,
okay.
great guitar maker, and I got the idea of the ergonomics beforehand, and he built the first two that really worked for me. I had other versions in the past. One specifically where the idea really got keyed in was made by a German maker,
Hmm,
luthier, whose name is Uli Teufel.
hmm,
But I needed it to work in an integrated way. So this ergonomic thing is that there's a little shelf on my guitars right around
right.
here.
See that? Okay.
I'm gonna point this
I see
camera.
that. Okay, great.
So
There
so
you go.
there's a little shelf there, and this way, if I want to get to these buttons, if they're over here, as had
Right.
always done in the past, then the whole process of actually playing the guitar gets interrupted. There's an interruption that's not pleasant because
Okay.
I gotta move my hand from there to there. And here I can just go from
Oh,
there to
yeah.
and it's a lot easier for me to keep track of. So these three buttons, when they're working, they are fast enough that you can have really micro bursts of sound.
Hmm.
So there are three functions. The first function is this microphone goes
Yeah.
on, and
Okay.
at the same time that goes on, these stop working.
Ah, okay.
No output.
Interesting.
So that's the case with all of these.
Okay.
This one, when you press down on it, it creates 60 cycle hum. Hmm.
Okay.
Oh, there's the note.
Got
Hmm.
it. Okay.
Hmm.
Very neat.
It's
Yeah.
horrible. It's a great thing for interruptions. This one is either a kill switch,
Okay.
no sound at all, and
So
again, this is all ergonomically so that I can
got
do
it. Yeah, you're right there. Okay.
keep my shit happening. I've got stuff over here I got to do, and then and then this one is the kill switch, unless you have something plugged into da, 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 da,
There
da,
you go.
guitar
Ah,
input. So
right.
this is the typical guitar output. This is where the
Okay. Right.
sounds come
Okay.
out. But this is an input. So
Okay.
whatever gets put in there is going to, if I hit this button,
Got it.
if it's
Okay.
if that's making a sound which you didn't hear, you will now hear it
That's
through
pretty neat.
all of my effects and whatever distortions and through the amplifier. So you see, I'm interrupting the
You
signal, and there's really. I went for a couple of years without having an input,
right.
and I kind of it just wasn't good enough.
Was this create like a loop, a reverse loop with that?
Well, I can't create a typical tape loop type
Right.
thing.
Right.
But one of the the other calls is about, and I say this if guitar players are listening to this and they're
I hope so.
interested in this, I would say there is a warning here, which is yes, I can take instead of taking for example, a drum machine into the input,
Right.
I could take an extra output from the amplifier itself, bring it back into the guitar, and that is a very dangerous form of feedback.
I imagine.
But in a controlled way, it can be super musical. It's not often that there's an opportunity to use that unless it's just a noise gig,
Right.
but uh but I have done it.
Now, do you use a lot of pedals with this? I see you have pedals in the background, or do you have a pedal board? Or you have external pedals? I see you have a whole
I I
bunch of pedals there.
I have oh, you can see these pedals.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, this is my pedal table.
Okay.
That kind of travels with me, although we're working on something fancier and more pro. There's a pedal board down on the floor, and
Okay.
I usually carry. It depends if I'm going to a session, I'll carry extra pedals
Right.
for broadness of sound. I don't carry my old Lexicon rack anymore. I no
Okay.
almost never play with the 3-point stereo anymore.
Okay. Yeah. I've seen that in videos. Lexicon.
I almost always play in mono now. It's easier for me, easier to travel. My old Lexicon stuff no longer has to go on planes. It was getting kind of
Um,
destroyed
right.
regularly.
So there's 200 of these made. That's it. I mean,
I think there are probably 200, or maybe there might be a few. Izzy would know. Izzy from the guitar maker from Ronin, and then Fiam, this is one of his Fiam guitars. Um,
beautiful guitar. Now, what would you recommend for like what kind of amp do you use? Look at that. That looks like a wear and you real. That looks like a
I
lot of work there.
I have a lot of amps, and the most active in the last couple of years are I regularly use Benson amps with Fryette, one Fryette amp.
Okay.
And I have way more Fryette amps, and I've got a Sound City 50 watt and got a 120-watt
Oh
Fryette.
wow, that's
Up,
pretty.
up until a few years ago was definitely it's probably still the most recorded amp that I've had. They're mostly all of them are tube amps. There's I I can't move the computer around.
I I
If I had done this on my phone, I could have shot.
That's okay.
But there are
Uh,
pictures of my insane pedal shit
yeah, I see
in
that.
in those two pedal books. The one was called Pedal Crush, and the other one was called Stomp Box.
I
And
remember.
both both authors came here and took pictures of this madhouse.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. Now,
It-
if you're a guitarist starting out, like electric guitar, what brand would you recommend somebody out there that they want to get a good clean sound and can
I mean, you can't go wrong starting with one of the from an electric point of view. Any of the classic electric things, a Telecaster, a Stratocaster,
right?
a Les Paul that has good pickups in it that have some openness to them and not aren't just loud and and dark. Um,
Well, yeah,
but- and there are so many. The
there
fact
is.
is that for $700 or $800 right now, you can get an incredible guitar.
I can imagine. Now,
I don't know.
what about amplifiers? What about amps? What amp do you like the tube amps
I only
basically?
I only play tube amps, and
Right,
I have I have digital amps, like modeling amps, like modeling devices like crazy, and I frankly I really don't prefer to use them except in a situation where I can only work in headphones.
okay.
I really I went through on the Next Day record, the
Oh
Bowie.
yeah, yeah, of course.
I went through. David wanted me to play in the control room. I really didn't want to, but I also didn't want to interrupt the band vibe because everybody else that was in my sessions
Right.
was they're the touring band,
You're
Scan,
right, right. Mm,
Jerry, and it was Zach playing drums. So that's the fam.
yeah,
I didn't want to. He wanted me in the control room. Went in the control room. I had a digital device. I think I can't remember which one it was because I've had quite a few of them. And I used it and I just said to him at the end, I said before I usually would do like a couple of days of overdubs without anybody else in the
right,
house.
right.
Uh, and I just said to him, "Oh, please let me redo some of these parts because they
Mm,
don't feel right to me. They sound okay. They don't feel right to me.
mm.
And I can do better." Because it was just, you're in the control room and you got headphones,
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
no eye contact with any of the other
Oh, yeah,
players,
that's not easy.
and it's digital, and it wasn't
Uh,
easy. It wasn't easy to tweak. Like it's really easy to tweak a
mm,
tube amp. Like you're not getting the right sound. You turn a couple of knobs and boom,
that's
you're
right.
need to be.
Yeah. Now,
I,
do you prefer to work in the analog world, like the tape world, or are you comfortable with recording
I'm
digital?
I'm comfortable with digital. I'm just not comfortable with. I just don't love the digital, the things that are the the hardware that is
Mm,
actually digital and faking amplifier sound.
right. Oh, I can't
I
stand that.
just I
Ah,
just and I know people make it sound great, and I think I have made it sound great.
mm.
It's not the same feeling for me at all. I
I
like
don't.
to I like all of the visceral shit of an amplifier behind me, even if it's at a low volume, but I am having physical contact
Right, right. That's a
with the
physical thing.
sound coming at my whole body. Even if
Right.
it's soft, you know,
I think that's why a guitar was created to feel that, that presence of that instrument. And
it, it's I think so too. And I don't diss it. I don't hate it. I just don't want to do it. And I hope nobody ever asks me to do a gig with in-ears because I don't think I'll do it.
Because I have a friend, he showed me his computer. He's got all this digital boxes, you got every imaginable box. But I'm saying, if you don't have a physical product box to play, I don't know. Maybe I'm,
I have great stuff in my computers too. I have great plugins, really brilliant.
yeah.
And some of them sound amazing,
Hmm.
but I'm generally not using them while I'm playing guitar.
Yeah, how you
I use
can't,
them in
yeah,
mixes to do mixing,
right,
but it's almost never a fake amplifier.
right. Now you've played with so many people. I mean, on this list, Tori Amos, everybody, David Sylvian, who I love, Katie Lang, all these great people. Is there any that stand out in your career? I mean, that you'd say, wow, besides David Bowie, what was a fantastic like experience in the
I,
studio?
I think actually it's rough. Almost all of the sessions that I did with producer Craig Street
Mm.
were like coming home. Almost all of them.
Oh, okay.
Whether I did a good job or a bad, it was always like, okay, here's my musical. Here's a this is a musical family here. So
Mm.
like I would say Meshell and Ndegeocello's Bitter record was
Mm.
Taking
Okay.
Like Drag was a standout for me.
And you work with Jack Bruce too, right?
Yeah,
Oh man.
the stuff with Jack and Mark Nassif and Miroslav Tadic, that was really amazing. Everything with Mick was
Right.
his stuff, my stuff,
Mm.
whatever. Um, the Sylvian sessions were really special.
Oh, he was I was speaking with Michael Brook, who
Yeah,
played what a fantastic guitarist. He was telling me about I remember seeing the Sylvan Fripp tour, and he's such a great musician, David Sylvan.
yeah. I mean that was it's an odd period of time for me, but all that stuff was great. I don't know. There's just so much. I think uh,
Yeah,
my
you've had
my
amazing amount of artists.
my Presence band, that was really spectacular for me
Mm.
in every way. I think that band was, and there's a band that I played with twice last year that I would like to play with again.
Okay. Huh.
Um, that was amazing. I just everything I've done with my friend Tim Berne over the course of
Mm.
this last 25 years, it's always worthwhile. There's
That's great.
always something to learn. There are new musicians to meet all the time, and I think I'm on like this really odd side of life right now, which
Mm.
is I am what they call working retired.
Okay.
I have a lot of um, I have a lot of like typical and some atypical health issues
Yeah, you get up
that
there at age.
be happy to be working home and not traveling all the time as I used to. And then there's me who misses travel when I'm not doing it. So
Yeah.
I haven't done I've been going to most years I've been going to Zurich like twice a year or for at least one of those trips is extended and that kind of the
Mm.
pandemic slowed that down. So I didn't go this year. And
Mm.
I think I went last year, but I think it, I'm not really sure. But
Mm.
I like those ideas that oh right Zurich
Yeah.
twice a
Yeah.
year, 3 times a year. I love that place.
Yeah.
It,
Beautiful, right?
well, it took me a long time to learn to really dig it.
Yeah. Now
But I do.
let's talk about your new record here. Your new music I've listened to on that really good Only Sky I love, and this new record you have out. And how do you do on Bandcamp and those
Well, I don't,
digital?
I wasn't ever going to do it. And then, and my son said, well, you're not playing that many gigs and you put all this stuff on Instagram for free.
Right.
And, if you're going to complain about like being broke, why don't you put your stuff on Bandcamp? And everybody go, why don't you put your stuff on Bandcamp? And I was like, because I'm not a salesman and I don't know what to do and I need help and so he got me started and it's gone pretty well, I have to say.
That's good. You've been able to do some sales on there, at least getting people to. I know because now it's so hard with artists
It's only
to
been
sell their
about,
music.
I haven't been there a year yet and I think I started either last March or last April. And it's been good. I think I need to build a little bit more. We're doing Chris Benson, the amp make Benson
Right.
amplifier, of which you might be able to see.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. A little bit. Yeah. I see it. Okay.
that one right there. That's a
Uh,
Benson. Two Fryettes, another Fryette, another the Sound City. You can't see the whole Benson amp, but it's because it's a very dark wood, but
Oh
that's
yeah. See that? There it is.
At Benson and one of those Fryette power stations are the regular thing here.
Mm.
And I have two special microphones that I use all the time. But what were we talking about
Well,
before I?
some of
Oh,
the new record, "Fall to Rise," so feel
I
to feel that some good, really good music
the,
there.
the yeah, I think the newest the last one I think is better because it shows it's the most recent one is the one that shows the most range,
Yep.
and these
I
are
agree.
things that I try to decide. I have so many pieces of music recorded that
You do.
it's pretty insane.
It is.
I mean it's
It,
abnormal.
it's an
So
amazing
so
amount.
there's a thing where in which I have been completing this record, which is now going to be on a record company as of a week ago. It's going to come out on a record company, but it'll be also on Bandcamp and
Okay.
stuff. Uh, that is really adventurous. So it
Mm,
takes the ideas that you notice in those things that instead of those being just solo, there's usually one other person there, somebody singing, somebody playing a horn,
right.
me singing, me playing synths instead of guitar. Or
Mm,
there's always some little thing, but the bigger project that I've been working on is huge. It's
mm.
really huge, and it's a little probably going to be too much to take. But
Wow. Mm,
it is that idea that I have started music that as an improv alone that I do in my room here. I improvise a piece. I might have an idea for how it starts. I have no idea what else is going to happen,
mm.
right? I might have an idea of, well, these three chords, or
Right.
oh, here's a nice little melody, and then just start and make a piece out of it with all the
Mm.
electronics going, choose which ones are up
Right.
and
Right.
and that's what I did. And then I went into the started in at the beginning first year of the pandemic. By June, I was going into the studios with musicians and that music is very the clarity of the marriage of composition and improvisation is what is appealing to me.
That's great.
It's very appealing. So there are pieces where Matt Mitchell is playing grand piano and Matt Maneri is playing like two violi parts and Kate Gentile's playing drums or Chess is playing drums. Aurora Nealand is singing,
Mm,
or Tim Berne is playing horn, but in a way that is very extended technique for
mm.
sounds and things. Um, you know, that stuff when that comes out, that'll be. I kind of planned that this would be quote unquote my last record. This is
Okay.
the idea of this. These are huge pieces. Some of them are way too long.
That's okay. When's this planned to be actually out this year? This music?
I think that there's a good chance that it could come out this year, but I would certainly say by early 26 or so it'll be
I would
out.
love to have you back on to talk about that once it's completed, because this sounds really like a
It,
really great recording that you're working
yeah,
on.
I have one. There's one person that I am trying to. I haven't actually made the effort yet. I need to have an there's a singer who wants to sing on at least one piece,
Mm,
and there's a language barrier, um, and yet she's one of my favorite singers in the world. So I have to make this. I have to find two calls to say, "Hey, would you like to collaborate on this piece with me?"
right, right. Well, maybe it might happen, you
Yeah,
know.
so it could happen. Yeah, I mean it should. So there's on what's on there now. Yeah, Matt Mitchell, Tim
Mm.
Berne, Aurora
Oh,
Nealand,
what a
Chess Smith,
cast.
um, uh, Matt Maneri, Kate Gentile,
Mm.
Seraphim, uh, singer.
Wow.
Um,
You got a real great
also
cast
me.
there. I can't wait to
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
this. And
You know,
you have a lot of fans out there that I'm certainly subscribers here that they're going to look forward to hearing it.
I hope so. I don't really know anymore because the only contact that I have, because I don't go out that much
Mm.
anymore, and
Well,
you know, I don't know. I don't know who's there. I know
yeah,
that I enjoy contact with the people that are on Instagram with me and listening to the Instagram stuff,
right.
which some of which, there are some pieces there that I'm going to pull off, and one or two of them are going to go on to records. Chris Benson and
Mm.
I are doing a vinyl, and
Okay.
I think we're doing a piece of vinyl because I helped him design a custom fuzz box for me,
Okay.
and it took about a year and a couple of months, and we went through a couple of different processes to get there, and it is killer. And I accidentally made like 12 or 13 or 14 more
Mm.
pieces with it that are pieces of music,
See, that's what you,
not jams, but pieces of music, and like focused improv. and
mm,
and Chris said, how many of those things did you do? And I said, I don't know, 10, 12, 15,
mm.
14. I don't know, a lot. And he goes, well, let's do vinyl.
There you go. That's why
so
not, right?
so it looks like certainly by Wednesday of next week, it looks like we will have a process in motion.
Fantastic.
I've got the master. I've mastered
Okay. Wow.
ready for
Well, it's
it's
been
ready to go for vinyl.
now. Where can we find your music? Basically on your
So
web. Where can we find your music on your website? Everybody out there that wants to, because you have so much
I
out
don't think I
there.
have a website.
Okay.
I don't really have a website. If there and my Wikipedia page was kind of a joke, and
Okay.
I've never had to sit down and take it down and make it into something real. But
We
I'm on Bandcamp, and
okay.
David M. Torn, and
I'll make sure to
you
put
know,
that in the
and
description. So it's been a real
yeah,
pleasure.
or you could put a link,
That's what I'm going to do.
pop the link in there. That helps people, you know. The Bandcamp is nice, and it's definitely going to get some more stuff.
I
So
think so. Well, David, this has been a pleasure. I mean, I've tried a few times to get a hold of you, and finally I
fun.
reached you and I said, wow, this is great. I mean, you've had quite a career, and
I can't be,
I can't
I can
thank
be
you enough.
terrifying, really.
That's all right. I mean, we all have our moments, but it's been
Well,
this whole,
so
th- go ahead.
yeah,
This has been a
so
quite
we'll
a,
do another one
when that record comes
around
out,
the yeah.
let's do it. I mean, I'd like to hear more about, hear it, especially. It sounds fantastic. It really does. You got to go out in a glory, right? In a big, big way. You've had such a great career.
Yeah,
You might as well go out big.
I don't think I'll ever stop recording unless I can't do it. But the idea of actually having things to sell is a whole
Yeah.
nother.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole hard thing these days. I don't know how bands do it any this day and age to make any money. You know,
I just got I haven't agreed to it yet, but I am going to agree to it. But I got a commission to do a piece for a French and Belgian string quartet.
oh,
So
okay.
I'm going to do that, I think. Pretty sure I'm going to do it, and that'll be performed in Paris in January next year.
Mm. Well, we didn't get a chance to talk too much about your film scores and everything. Next time, we'll save that for next time for sure.
So I have some favorites.
Sure, let's hear that.
Bars and the Real Girl is definitely a favorite, and it will throw all the guitar players way off because they don't know
Really? Okay.
that I write that way. I think St. John of Las Vegas is another favorite.
Mm.
I really the score it wasn't released, but the most of my stuff from Friday Night Lights, they only put one of my pieces on the record because the music supervisor was a competitive son of a bitch
Oh boy.
and,
Oh,
and wanted
oh,
all the space.
oh my
Yeah.
God.
There's a couple. The Order is still is the first score I did for a major studio was The Order with
Okay.
Brian Helgeland directing and writing, and that was nominated for a Grammy. That one,
Oh,
so
really?
that made me feel.
Wow.
That was my first. That was my first
First one?
score for a major picture. Yeah,
That's pretty good. I mean,
I've done a lot of other.
I'm sure that's really
Yeah,
something.
that gave a good feeling, and I never should have in a million years. Jeff Beck offered me. He said, "I'm
Hmm.
going to send you the Grammy for the song that you wrote for me,"
Jeff
and
Beck. Wow.
I said, and he was old and I had all this respect for him, and I basically went, "Nah, dude, come on, you keep it." All I did was rewrite it
Oh, that's
and
something.
play on it, you know. And it
Oh,
won a
that's
Grammy,
amazing.
so I just got. There was another one. Taiwanese Grammy for Yuhan Su's jazz record on.
Oh,
I
okay.
forgot the name of the label. She got a Grammy. I didn't even find out about it until like she didn't even tell me. It was just like I saw it on Instagram. Hey, wait, I I mixed and mastered that record.
Oh, that's funny.
Just
Oh, you never know,
you
right?
never
I mean,
know.
it's really something. Well, David, I want to thank you again. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you, meeting you, and much
Uh,
success.
I agree.
And this has been a great series for me. I mean, I've met so many interesting musicians, and
Have you met Tim Motzer yet?
no, I have
Are
no,
you are you
I haven't
are you
met.
familiar? Are you you're not good. You're not just a guitar player watcher, right?
No, no, I
Or you
all types of music. I don't limit myself to just guitars. It's a whole spectrum of people, and I like to speak to creative people. It doesn't matter what sector, what genre. So if you have anybody else that would want to
there's
come
an
on,
there's incredible people you should know about that are kind of like outside the realm
see,
of what that the old record business
yeah,
stuff,
these are the
even
people.
the weirdest stuff.
This is the people I want to
But
talk to. You know,
have you ever listened to Shara Warden?
no,
She goes as my brightest diamond, and I think she's one of the brilliant
mm,
musicians of the age
really,
uh,
have to
that I,
talk.
yeah,
Is she open for
she it's
interviews at all?
somewhere. I have no idea. She's
Okay,
on.
okay,
You can see her on Instagram. My brightest diamond,
okay. I'm
and
gonna
I'm
look
sure
her
she
up.
has people around her. Very big productions, like
Okay,
operas and plays, and she's
wow.
incredible. I think there's just so many people out there.
I know, I
I
know. I'm just
I
touching the base on so many people that are, not famous, but deserve to have some kind of, form.
should be heard. Yeah,
It should be
yeah.
heard.
So
Like, everybody, there's a lot of people know you, but not the mainstream media as much, but they don't realize how much work you've done with so many people. And that's
yeah,
what I love about it. You're,
yeah. We try not to make lists because once you do it, you're if I show you my credits, if you see the films that I've been on
yeah, I
and the
know.
songs that you would never think were me and that kind of stuff, it's like it's a little daunting and you feel like okay, but then I forgot to put my favorite one and then I have to
Right,
take
right,
something out.
right, right. I
I don't even
understand.
want to deal with it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. No,
Yeah.
you gotta live in the present
it's
moment, right, of
it's
what's
been amazing.
happening. I know. It's been
You just you don't want to. I don't want to. I'm really happy with a lot of the work that I've gotten to do. I'm very pleased that this has been my life
mm,
and I made it my life and my family struggled through this with me.
mm,
And this is incredible. On
yeah,
the other hand, sometimes you want to go, "Hey, I invented that." And then
right.
you just go, "Nah. If they can figure out after I'm dead, that'll be
Yeah, but
great."
even though you're lucky, you've been lucky to get these opportunities, you have to be talented, and you have shown that. You've invented
Well,
things.
the main thing that shocked me about myself was I didn't have native confidence
Mm,
as a child nor as a young adult. It wasn't native to me, and I didn't
mm,
know when people say you're great and you kind of hide because
yeah,
you don't know what to do with. That's
yeah,
I mean I kind of I had to, in order to keep working, I had to grow out of that
mm,
specific kind of narrow space.
yeah.
And
Understand.
I think that only works when you just really have to fine tune willpower to do that,
Right. I
to get through
understand.
that.
Yeah. Plus to
Yeah,
work with.
I was the one who you couldn't have talked to when I was
Mm,
17 years old. You
mm,
would not get a word out of me.
no.
What are you using for your? It doesn't really matter.
Mm.
So what kind of string is that? No, I don't care. I'd
But
be
the,
like, don't.
but then once you met these great people to work with, I mean, then did that open you up to more being
I think it's always opening as long as the work is good.
right?
You
I agree.
and sometimes I'm not. I don't love my failures, but I recognize that you need them in order to move on. Lots of times you do things and fail. You
Mm,
have a failure. I had a failure a couple of years ago that really hurt for a couple of few weeks,
mm,
months.
mm.
still leaves a funny flavor in my mouth. It was just a, and it was my failure.
Hmm.
It wasn't. I could ascribe it to somebody else and should, but in the end, it was me that wasn't capable of like coming up to picking up and getting around the problem.
Right,
There was a
right.
problem person in the orchestra, and
No.
I had to deal with him, and they couldn't deal with me. It's
Okay.
unmanageable.
Oh boy. Oh well. Oh well. Well,
It happens.
what are you gonna do, right? There's people at conflict with each other, and you just either get around it
Oh,
or it doesn't work. You know, it is what it is. So,
dude.
David, it's been a pleasure. Thank you again, and hope we can link up again once your new record's out. I can't wait to hear
Dennis,
this.
make sure you send me a link to where this goes. It'll
Sure,
be on your YouTube page.
it's going to my YouTube channel called Primitive Substance, and I've done over
Right.
hundred interviews
I have.
already. I'll send
Yeah.
it to you, and I have a list now on my website of all the interviews I've done, so you can take a look at all the people that I've spoken to.
Oh, what's your day job though?
Oh, I don't work anymore. I'm pretty much retired. I mean,
You did retire.
I used to work in the cable TV business
Yeah.
and for a number of years. So, I still play music. I put out records, but they don't sell very much, but it's just for the love of music, you know.
That's all it takes. It's
That's what
really
it
all.
is these days. So, but
Eh,
this has been a labor of love doing this whole series. I really expected to do maybe two or three of these when I started this, but it's been started last year and it just continued to evolve. And meeting people like you and Theo Travis and David Jackson and you name it, it's been quite an amazing journey. And it's nice to get
you
the
should,
voice out to everybody, like yourself.
yeah, you should do a Tim Berne one because man,
Let them know.
he's like one of the secret forces of the musical
I got
universe in
to
the
talk to
United
him.
States.
Well, ask him if you tell him I'd be very, very interested in speaking with him. When he has some time, tell him I'm available. We could work it out.
He's too tall though. He probably
That's
doesn't
funny.
fit in the screen.
That's all right. We'll figure it out. We'll work it out. All right, David, it's been a pleasure. Thank you again, and it's my honor to have you on.
Talk
All
to you
right.
later.